If you're wondering how to get started with wholesale real estate in 2024, you've made it to the right video. This is going to be a full step-by-step guide on how you can start wholesale real estate, even if you're starting as a complete beginner. These are the exact steps that I took to close over 7 figures in wholesale fees by 22. I'm going to cover everything from generating leads, how to actually talk to these sellers, tracking your KPIs, and everything you need to do to actually seal the deal with the contract, which I'll be sharing with you at the end of this video. And the best part is, if you follow the methods that I share, you can do this all with $0. So grab a snack, sit back, it's time to learn some shit. All right, so step number 1, you gotta acquire data. Acquiring data, addresses, houses, distressed properties. Now, before I jump into explaining data and how to get it, I want to first explain the difference between leads and data. Data is the addresses, the phone numbers, the contact informations, the distressed properties in a list. Those are pieces of data, not leads. Leads are what you're generating when you're actually calling these people. When someone says, hey, I'm interested in selling my house, that is a generated lead. That is what a lead is. So let me just make that clear that there is a huge difference between leads and data. Now, how are you going to acquire this data? How are you going to acquire these distressed properties? Are you going to do it for free? Or are you going to do it a paid way? Well, let's go over both ways. The free way, very simple. It's called driving for dollars. I know it sounds weird, but you are literally driving around through areas that are high crime, low income areas and just writing down the addresses of distressed properties. Now, if you're not able to go in person, you can do it at the comfort of your home, your bed, your couch, whatever, just being on Google Maps, Google Street View, whatever you want to call it, Google Earth, Google Maps, Google Street View. You can literally do it from there. It's literally as simple as getting in your car, getting on your laptop, going down these streets and just writing down the addresses of distressed properties. What you'll want to do is be able to grab at least bare minimum 100 to like 500 addresses. I know that's kind of broad, the more the merrier, but at least 100. So that's one free way that you can be acquiring data. The other free way that you can acquire data is city or county lists. Going straight to the county, going straight to the city, and actually acquiring these lists. Now, these lists can be tax delinquent properties, it can be pre-foreclosures, it can be probates. There's a bunch of lists, water shutoff, you name it, fire list, all over the place. Now, let me just preface by saying it really does vary county to county how to actually acquire those pieces of data. Some counties make it very, very easy, and some counties make it very, very difficult. Again, it ranges county to county. Now, that's why there's websites like PropStream who make it very, very easy to acquire this data, but it does cost money, which leads me to the paid ways to acquire data. So again, you got websites like PropStream, Batch Leads, where you can go into those websites, pull exact lists that you're looking for, vacant, water shutoff, all of those juicy lists that you're looking for. You can go to those websites to just pull those lists. With those websites for list pulling, it's probably going to cost you roughly around $500 to maybe even $1,500, depending on how many records you're going to be pulling from those websites. Now, the second way that you can acquire data at a cost is going to be PPC, pay per click. What this basically is Google ad campaigns, Facebook ad campaigns, TikTok ad campaigns, social media ad campaigns. That's basically what PPC is. Now, you can run your own ad campaigns yourself, or there's many, many marketing ad agencies out there that you can be working with as well. Now, to be doing PPC properly to where you're actually going to be seeing profits, you're going to want to be spending around $3,000 each month. Now, I know that's pretty costly, and I really do not recommend doing it if you are a complete beginner. Now, the third way that you can acquire data at a cost is going to be PPL. Now, it's similar to PPC, pay per click, but instead you're doing pay per lead. So there's websites out there to where you can actually go onto the website and bid on these leads. Now, in order to actually see profit in a reasonable amount of time through PPL, you're gonna be wanting to spend, again, around $3,000 each month. Again, I do not recommend doing this if you're a complete beginner. Now, if you want to know the websites to actually take advantage of PPL, some of the websites are needtosellmyhousefast.com or ispeedtolead.com. And then the last two ways to be acquiring data at a cost is going to be TV commercials or radio ads, which TV commercials are about $20,000 each month. Never done it myself. And radio ads, it's probably going to run you around $5K each month. Another thing that I've never done. Now, you're probably wondering, Cam, what are the ones that you've taken advantage of? Have you only done free, or have you only done paid, or have you done both? I've done driving for dollars, I've gotten county data, I've done the PropStream, I've done the batch leads, I've done PPC, and I've done PPL, never done TV, and I've never done radio ads. Now, which do I prefer the best? Well, obviously, county data is always going to be your best bet, but it's just a little bit tricky, like I said, county to county on actually acquiring this data. So a third party is sometimes going to be your best bet to actually get that county data. Now, if you are a complete beginner and you're starting off with damn near $0, I have some good news for you. The free method, driving for dollars, is actually the best way to acquire the best data out there. Let me explain why. Really think about this for a sec. You are going out there to these areas that are high crime, low income areas, and you're finding a bunch of distressed properties. You know, you're not gonna pull a list out there and just hope that all of them are distressed. When you're pulling these lists through these third parties, you never know if they're updating on a regular basis, and I'm sure that they're not. So with driving for dollars, you're actually able to know that all of these properties are distressed and that 1 million people have not called through this list because it's your list. And yes, that is exactly how I was able to close out my first few deals. And something that I did forget to mention, if you are doing it the free way, you're probably wondering, how am I gonna get their phone numbers? Well, Deal Machine is a great app / website that you can use to get the contact information of these homeowners. So I highly recommend using Deal Machine in order to acquire the numbers. But you can use PropStream. They just have a monthly subscription, and I don't really think it's that worth it. So that is acquiring data, not acquiring leads, remember. Now on to generating leads. Let's talk about the ways that you're actually able to generate leads. And just like acquiring data, there's also free ways and paid ways to generate leads. As much as I wish that there was 1 million free ways to generate leads and actually market out to your data, there's really only one. And what is that? It's calling from your cell phone, texting from your cell phone, and leaving voicemails straight from your cell phone. No, do not get a Google Voice. Do not get a random burner number from on a random app on your phone. Call from your phone, text from your phone, and leave voicemails from your phone. And again, yes, this is exactly what I did to close out my first deal using this phone. Now, in terms of the paid ways to generate leads, there's 3 that I really like. Number 1, it's a dialer, a triple line dialer. Basically what a triple line dialer is a software where you input your data, you have multiple phone numbers calling 3 people at once, and whoever picks up first, you get on the phone with. Now, my 2 favorite softwares for triple line dialers is Mojo and Call Tools. These can range from about $100 to $150 each month. Yes, they are subscriptions. Now, the second way to generate leads at a cost is text blasting. Depending on the size of your list and how many pieces of data you have, this can be about $1,000 each month. The number 1 SMS service that I always loved to use was Launch Control. I highly recommend getting it if you are going to be SMS blasting. And my third favorite way to generate leads at a cost is going to be direct mail. Sending mail directly to your list and then just waiting for a call or a text back from that person you sent the mail to. And believe it or not, Deal Machine actually runs phenomenal direct mail campaigns. So if you are gonna do direct mail, I highly recommend using Deal Machine, or just do your own research and see what providers that you like to use. As far as how much direct mail can cost you on a month-to-month basis, it can be around $3,000 each month. So we've covered data, we've covered generating leads, but there's one thing that I need you to keep in mind. Choosing the best marketing method solely depends on how you are acquiring your data. For instance, if you have a list of 100 houses, you're not going to use a triple line dialer to call out to these homeowners. That just wouldn't make sense. So please keep in mind that the way that you acquire your data goes hand in hand with how you should choose your marketing method. Now that you know how you're actually going to be making contact with these homeowners, let's talk about actually talking to the sellers. The scary part, so they say. Now, calling the homeowners. I'm sure you're wanting me to just break down an entire cold call script, but me personally, I hate cold call scripts for various reasons. You can sound like a robot. It tends to force you into talking in a way that just isn't you. Shit, I've even been told multiple times when I was first starting off, hey, you literally sound like you're talking on a script right now, which probably isn't a good thing. If you want to get good at talking with people on the phone, I have a very simple framework that you can follow to lock up many contracts each month. It goes like this. You're calling off your phone, you're calling on a triple line dialer, shit, maybe you even sent out some mail and somebody got back to you. First thing you gotta do, you just gotta build a little bit of rapport and just kind of set the stage and give them that intro. These steps right here are probably the most important part, because if you fuck this part up, you're probably not gonna be able to get to the last step of this framework. So once you get somebody who answers the phone, it's as simple as this. Hey, John? Yes? Hey, John, sorry to bother you. This is Cam. I just had a quick question for you regarding that property at 123 Main Street. Pause. They'll typically answer with yes, what about it? Or if they've gotten 1 million calls on this property before, they'll probably just say no or not interested. But let's assume that they just say yes. They say, yes, what about the property? You'd be like, yeah, so I just wanted to see if there was any interest in possibly selling that in the near future. Boom. There is your intro. There is your slight rapport that you're starting to build with them. That is the intro. Now, let's say that they say, yes, you know what? I am interested in selling this property. Perfect. Now, you need to set the stage. One of the most important steps within that framework is setting the stage. Reason being, you don't want these people guessing what's around the next corner in their conversation, because when I'm in conversations like that and I don't know where this conversation is leading to, I'm trying to get the hell out of that conversation as quickly as possible. These homeowners on the phone, they're the exact same way. So with setting the stage, you want to let them know 3 things. How much time I'm going to be taking of yours, what is going to be discussed on this, and what is going to be the outcome. Now, what is that? I'm going to be taking about 5 minutes of your time. I just need to get a little bit of information of this property so I can be able to make you an offer by the end of today or maybe even tomorrow. It's as simple as that. Let them know that, because you don't want them to guess what's around the next corner. You want to let them know, this is what I need this call for. This is how much time I'm going to take. Here's what the outcome is going to be for you. Immediately after setting the stage, you say, this is what I'm going to be doing. This is how much time I'm going to be taking. And this is what the outcome is going to be. Once you let them know that, immediately just go into motivation. It's what I love to do each and every time I'm on the phone, because you set the stage and you go, all right, cool. Now, just kind of curious. I mean, what else are you thinking about selling this property? You know, is this something that you're just kind of like curious about, or are you actually serious about selling this property? These are kind of just background questions that you need to acquire. If you are getting on these phone calls and you aren't getting a great understanding of why they want to sell, on what their motivation is going to bite you in the ass in the long run. I promise you. And I can assure you, even if they just say, I don't want it anymore, I just don't like it, that is just the tip of the iceberg on their motivation. I need you to go deeper than that. I need you to probe at their motivation. Now, how do you do that? Let's say, for instance, they give you a very bland answer. Oh, I just don't like the property. I've owned it for a while and I just want to get rid of it. Okay, well, that doesn't tell me much on why you want to sell it. What is the real reason why you want to sell this property? So, Mr. Seller, you say that you don't like this property. I mean, what do you mean by that? You know, Mr. Seller, it seems like this property could, rent out for a lot. How come you don't just rent it out and cash flow each month? You know, Mr. Seller, this sounds like something that you've been thinking about for a while now. How long have you been thinking about selling this property? Oh, geez, man, you've been thinking about it for 6 months. I mean, what's kind of been holding you back from actually being able to sell this? Oh my goodness, Mr. Seller, you're telling me that this has done X, Y, and Z for you? I mean, how has that impacted you thus far? Asking these very, very simple questions is only going to unravel the rest of the iceberg on why they actually want to sell. And all this is you gaining leverage over this seller so you can actually get the deal. And while you're acquiring their motivation, the last thing that you need to do, you need to get that need payoff, if that makes sense. And what do I mean by that is, I'm just gonna explain with this question that I ask the seller each and every time. So, Mr. Seller, ultimately, if we were able to get you that fair offer, or if you were able to get a fair offer for that property, what else would you need to have fulfilled on top of just price? Doing this is gonna allow you to get an understanding of what else they value in an offer other than just price. Because I can promise you, wants, needs, and wishes, if those 3 things are fulfilled, price does not matter to these homeowners. Now, the next thing that I like to cover within the framework is overviewing past pain. What do I mean by this? Basically getting an understanding of what they've tried in the past, how it went, how it worked, things of that nature. So I'll straight up ask them, what have you tried so far to actually accomplish selling this property? How did it go? How long ago was that? What else have you tried? All you're doing right now is really kind of backing this seller into a corner to where their only option is going to be you. Now, I know what you're probably wondering. Why is he not asking questions about the house? Why is he not asking questions about the condition of this property? Well, I want to make sure I'm talking to somebody who's actually serious about selling their home. However you want to do it, you can start off with condition first. You can start off with motivation first. Me personally, I just like the preference of starting with motivation first so I know I'm not wasting my time. And also, I feel like I've gotten very, very good at extracting that motivation so I know I'm not wasting my time. So yes, now this is where you would get into asking questions about the condition of the property. I always like to start off with the bigger ticket items, electrical, plumbing, and HVAC. Have those been updated recently? Are they even working? Have they been ripped out? Did that squatter that you were telling me about who was smoking crack in the basement steal everything that was valuable? I don't know. Obviously, these bigger ticket items are gonna have a way greater impact on the offer you're gonna give this homeowner. So it's very, very important to make sure you understand the condition of those bigger ticket items. Then you start asking about the kitchens. You can ask about the bathrooms, the bed bathroom count, how the exterior is, the roof, the gutters, the siding, the landscaping. You can ask about all that as well. Is there a basement? Is it finished? Is the foundation okay? Notice how I'm asking mainly about the bigger ticket items because they're gonna have the greatest impact on the offer you give this homeowner, like I said. Now, the last part of this entire framework is called deal killers. Going over the deal killers. Things that can just screw up the entire deal and hold you back from actually getting paid. It's these 4 things: timeline, discomfort, decision makers, and price. Timeline, as simple as asking, Mr. Seller, when would you actually like to have this property off of your hands? What is the timeline? 30 days, 60 days? Shit, yesterday? What is that day? What is that timeline? Discomfort, Mr. Seller, what do you need to get figured out before you can actually sell this property? Is there any valuable items you need to get out of the property? Is there a tenant inside that we might need to help find a new place? Is there somebody that you might need to talk to first in order to get a better idea of what you might want to accept on this? Don't ask that question, but they might say it. Number 3, decision makers. You want to know if there's anybody else who's going to have an influence on this homeowner's decision. So you're simply just going to ask, hey, Mr. Seller, would anybody be would there be anybody that might get upset with you if you sold this property without talking to this person first? Well, you know, my great aunt, you know, always, you know, had a good taste in real estate. She was a realtor for about, 2 months, sold one house. So I think she would have a really good idea of, what I could get for this. So I think I might want to talk to them first. Perfect. You know who the decision maker is now. You need to make sure that Mrs. Auntie is going to be on that phone call or at the property when you go to make that offer, because the last thing you want is to bring somebody an offer and for them to say, cool, let me go discuss it with somebody that I know that will have a better idea of if this is a good price or not. Terrible. Make sure you go over decision maker. And number 4, price. Hey, Mr. Seller, just kind of curious, have you thought about what you might want to sell this property for? Is there like a ballpark range that, you might think is a fair offer? Notice how I have that curious, childish tonality in my voice. You don't want to come at these people like, so what do you want to sell this one for? Man, that seems a little bit aggressive. You tell me what the price is. No. You want to have that childish curiosity, that confused old man tone for whoever does say that. Jeremy, I think his name is. Price, it's a tricky conversation. It could be a little bit uncomfortable for these homeowners. So you want to kind of have that easygoing tonality when you're bringing up these uncomfortable conversations. Now, lastly, at the beginning of the call, what do? We set the stage. What do you think we're going to be doing at the end of the call? We're going to set the stage for the next call so you don't get ghosted. Same exact thing that you did at the beginning of the call, do it for the next call. At the end of the call, simply go, okay, awesome. I'm going to be giving you a call at this time today or at this time tomorrow. We're going to go over the offer that I have for you. And if you like it, great. If not, at least you know what your options look like. I will see you at that time on that day. All I got to say is if you've made it this far into the video and you actually absorbed the framework that I'm breaking down for you right now, if you are actually going to start applying this, I promise you that you are going to be seeing a lot better conversations and you're going to be seeing a lot more leads generated and a lot more deals being closed. In the midst of acquiring data, marketing out to your data to generate leads, and having these conversations, the number one thing that you need to make sure you're doing is tracking your KPIs, your key performance indicators. If you don't know what key performance indicators are, here's the definition of that right here. Now, with wholesaling, there's 2 types of KPIs that I like to track. There's marketing KPIs and there's acquisition KPIs. Let's explain them. Now, for marketing KPIs, you have ad spend, you have calls made, you have connections, which are the conversations that you actually have with the homeowners, how many times you get connected with that homeowner. You have leads generated, and with tracking all of those types of metrics, you're going to be able to get your conversion rate and you're able to get your connection rate. Now, let me tell you why those 2 rates are super important when it comes to wholesale real estate. With connection rate, well, you want to make sure you're actually getting connected with these homeowners. Now, when you're making these calls, you're not going to get a 100% connection rate. On average, you're probably somewhere between 5% or even upwards of 20% depending on your marketing channel. So, if you are tracking your KPIs and you see that your conversion rate is below 1%, you probably need to fix something within your business. Now, with conversion rate, how many calls do you need to make in order to actually generate a lead, in order to convert a lead? And again, depending on your marketing channel, your conversion rate can range anything from 3% to upwards of 10%. Shit, I've seen some conversion rate on a good day upwards of 20%. Now, if you're anything below that 3% mark, Hey, you know that there's something wrong with your business and you need to do something to fix it. Numbers don't lie. Track them. Now on to the acquisition KPIs. You got qualified leads, appointments scheduled, appointments completed, offers made, contracts out, and contracts signed, and projected revenue. And with tracking all of those metrics, you get your qualification rate, your offer rate, and your close rate. Now, why are those three metrics important? Well, when you're on the phone and you're generating these leads, you're probably not gonna be able to qualify all of them. Actually, you're not gonna qualify all of them because based off of my KPIs and all the other industry standard KPIs, nobody's at 100% qualification rate. So you wanna make sure that you're nowhere below 60 to like 70% on a qualification rate. If you generate 100 leads, you wanna make sure you qualify at least 70 of them. Now, what do I mean by qualifying? Actually taking them through the framework that we just went over. Now, for your offer rate, for all of these leads that you're generating and qualifying, how many of them are you actually making an offer to? It's a very important number. And then lastly, your close rate. Obviously, everybody wants to know what their close rate is for how many leads they're generating to how many qualifications they need to how many offers they got to make to actually get a closed deal. When me and my partner actually started tracking our KPIs, we were able to see, for all of the leads that we've generated, we've only qualified 50% of them. Oh, and we've only made offers to 5% of them. We were generating all of these leads and basically burning through them because we weren't qualifying enough of them and we weren't making offers to enough of them. And what does that lead to? A bad close rate. How can you track these KPIs? When I was first starting off tracking KPIs, the website that I used religiously was tallycount.com. You're able to set up all of these little, clickers to be able to see, +1, -1, +1, -1. And you can just do that each and every day to actually, see, how many do I qualify? How many offers did I make? How many appointments did we go on? And you can take all those numbers and put them into a spreadsheet at the end of the day, or at the end of the week, or at the end of the month. If you're calling in a CRM, or if you're on a dialer, most of the time you're gonna be able to run a daily report to see how many calls you made. So you'll just take those numbers and track them and store them somewhere so you can actually be tracking your KPIs to a T. Now, I know I covered kind of the industry standards for the qualification rate, the offer rate, the connection rate, the conversion rate, but it kind of does vary depending on your experience level. So if you want to know what the standard KPI is that you need to be hitting on a day-to-day basis, here's a chart showing you the numbers that you need to be hitting on a day-to-day basis, depending on where you're at within your wholesaling journey and what level you're at. Now, you can have the best data, you can have the best list, you can have the best calling script in the world, and you can even be tracking your KPIs, but if you suck at making offers, you're probably never going to be closing deals, or at least little to none. So it's very important when it comes to making offers. You got to know when to make the offer, and you also need to know when not to make the offer. When do you not make the offer? When all of the decision makers aren't present, if they still have things that they need to figure out before they can actually sell the property, if they want to sell 60 plus days down the line, or if there's just zero motivation to actually sell the property and they're just kind of curious about hearing an offer. You will never want to make an offer if those are the circumstances. Now, when do you make the offer? When all of that is not a problem. So you generated a lead, you qualified them, you went out to the property, you might even be there with them at the property. What do you do now? You gotta contract the property. You gotta put the property under contract. Now, a huge misconception. Oh my God, I'm scared to put a property under contract just because what if I'm forced into buying this property? Well, there's one very, very simple thing that us wholesalers do to make sure that that doesn't happen. And it's as simple as an inspection period. This inspection period, or this inspection contingency, basically allows us wholesalers or any other buyer that's out there to have enough time to view the property, maybe get some buyers in there, and gives us enough time to actually make a decision on which buyer to pick, if this is actually a good deal or not, and things of that nature. Typically, you want to make sure you have about 14 to 15 business days within your inspection period so you have enough time to find a buyer. And let's say, worst comes to worst, you don't find a buyer, you just need to make sure you back out of the contract within that inspection period so there's no repercussions at all. You can even put the inspection period is 15 business days long. If the buyer decides that they are no longer interested in the property, they will be able to back out of the property with no repercussions. And now, if you don't back out of the contract within the inspection period, well, I recommend talking to the seller. I recommend probably just giving up your earnest money so there's no repercussions and you're not gonna get in a huge lawsuit just because you didn't actually fulfill on the contract. This is where having a real estate attorney really comes in handy, because they're able to help you and guide you through not making simple, stupid mistakes. As simple as not backing out of a contract before your inspection period. And no, I am not a licensed attorney. This is only legal opinion. This is not legal advice. But if you need a little bit of a template or a little bit of a framework for a purchase and sale agreement or even an assignment contract, go into the description and I have a link in there for you to get the scripts and the contract templates. Believe it or not, all of the hard stuff that comes with wholesaling is all out of the way at this point. From here, you just gotta find a buyer, call a title company, and you're good to go from there. Those 2 steps are the easiest steps. But let me explain finding a buyer. As far as finding a real estate investor, a cash buyer, a buyer for your deal, they're actually hiding in plain sight. Go on to Zillow, go on to Redfin, look at the cheapest houses that recently sold within the area that your property's at. I promise you, those guys are cash buyers. No mom and pop retail home buyer is gonna be buying that roughed up, vacant, windowless, no garage, no roof house on 63rd and King Drive. I can promise you that. Or what you can do is go to the most expensive properties that recently sold in those areas and look for the ones that look brand new, brand spanking new rehabs. It could be a house that was built in like 1930, but if the inside looks brand spanking new, there's no furniture, brand new appliances, still has that blue stuff on the dishwasher in the fridge, or even you look in the description and it says brand new rehab. The person that is selling that home, I promise you, is an investor, a real estate investor, a cash buyer for your deal. The same way that you're able to get the contact information for these sellers is the same exact way that you can get the contact information for these buyers. Take those addresses, put them in a deal machine, and it will give you the person who owns that property. Now, if it was sold and deal machine isn't giving you the exact owner of who that investor was, you can simply call the realtor who bought the house or who sold the house, and they'll get you in touch with the real estate investor that you're looking for. And with those contracts, in the description of this video, there's an assignment contract. You will want to use that assignment contract and sign it with the buyer so you can assign all the rights to purchase the property to that buyer for a profit. Now, once you get all of those paperwork signed, this is where you actually get paid, and you need to call up a title company and schedule the closing. I know it sounds crazy, but it's really as simple as this. You find a title company, you give them a call. Hey, Mrs. Title Agent, I have a property under contract at 123 Main Street, and I would like you guys to pull title and to facilitate the closing. Let them handle it from there. Let your attorney handle it from there. Let the seller's attorney, let the buyer's attorney handle it from there. But make sure you are, calling out to the title company every other day, maybe every day, to get some updates and to see if you need to do anything to make sure you can get to the closing table quicker. Finding buyers, closing deals at title companies, don't complicate it. Those are the easiest steps within wholesaling. So now that we've covered everything on how you can actually start closing wholesale deals, let's talk about scaling this into an actual business. Going from wholesaler to a wholesaling business. This is how that looks. When it comes to scaling, you got to consider hiring people. You can't scale this on your own. You got to bring on the right team. When is it the right time to actually start hiring people and bringing on the right people onto your team? Well, I like to say close at least 1 to 3 deals and stack up about 10K to like 30K. With that cushion, it should give you enough room to continuously scale up your marketing and scale up the data as well. So once you have that 10K to 30K stacked up, the first thing that you're gonna wanna do is outsource marketing and lead management. Your job is still gonna be acquisitions, dispositions, and transaction coordination with the title company. Now, just to preface what marketing and lead management is, we already did. Marketing, actually cold calling out to these homeowners. Lead management, following up with these homeowners. For the ones that say that they need to sell 60, 90 days down the line, or they're not ready to hear an offer, or they have some deal killers that are killing the deal currently that you need to keep following up with them. That's what the lead management is for. Your job is to make sure you're qualifying these people and making these offers, going on the appointments, locking up the contracts, finding the buyers, and coordinating the transaction. Now, once you get it to a point where you're locking up 1 property under contract each week for about 3 months, hey, that tells you that you're ready to scale again. You are going to want to hire, train, and onboard an acquisition rep. And your job will be still acquisitions, because this is a numbers game and we're trying to handle volume and we want to do volume, so we need 2 acquisition guys. Maybe you can scale up marketing and lead management a little bit more too. And then once you get it to a point where you're locking up 2 properties under contract a week, you're assigning 1 house each week for about 2 to 3 months, hey, you're ready to scale again. And again, we want more guys on the front line, so you're gonna wanna hire, train, and onboard another acquisition rep to replace you. So your job is only going to be dispositions and transaction coordination. You've got your marketing team killing it for you. They're generating a bunch of leads. You got your acquisition team killing it for you. They're qualifying hella leads. They're going on appointments. They're making these offers. They're locking up contracts. And then your job is to sell these deals to buyers and coordinate those transactions. Now, when are you gonna be ready to scale again? You're selling 2 deals a week to buyers, you're scheduling 1 closing a week to the title company, and you're closing out 1 deal a week at a title company. You need to be doing that for about 2 to 3 months, and then you're ready to scale. From there, there's only 2 other positions that you're able to fill: dispositions and transaction coordination. I highly recommend just hiring and training and onboarding a dispositions rep. And your job is simply just to be talking with title companies and coordinating transactions. Now just look at that. Look at that from a grand scheme of things. In less than a year, you can go from one-man wholesaler to a full-on wholesale operation, an actual wholesale business, where you're closing 1 deal each week. But that's only if you listen to what I say and actually implement what I'm telling you to implement. Now, I know that everything that I just covered, it can be a little bit overwhelming. You know, there's a lot that we went over. And this is exactly why I opened up an inner circle to be able to help people just like yourself who may be struggling or may be having a hard time wrapping their head around this all. People like Cassidy, who closed a deal with me for $14,000. $14,500 actually, to be exact. And that was all done within just a few months of working with me. And I can't forget about my boy Christian, who did the same exact thing but made $24,000 in profit in just a few months. Actually, 2 months to be exact, working with me. If being a part of my inner circle is something that you think could be helpful to you, check out the link in the description. If you guys enjoyed this video, I'm going to be dropping a lot more videos just like this one in the next few months, including live videos of me actually closing these deals out. So subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. Thanks for tuning in. Love ya.